Welcome back to MVM. Today we are going to be taking a look at Kingdom Rush Elemental Uprising. Now this is a board game that is based on the popular mobile game franchise Kingdom Rush. In addition, it's actually the follow-up to the board game Kingdom Rush Rift in Time, which came out last year. Now this is actually a follow-up. It is not an expansion, and it's not really a second edition, but it is more content for the game with some polished mechanics and some new things added that people have been asking for. And these two games are actually compatible with each other in that you can take all of your heroes from Rift in Time and play them here in Elemental Uprising. Now the rules to this game are pretty similar to what they were in Kingdom Rush Rift in Time, but some of you might be hearing about this game for the first time. Maybe you have no idea what Kingdom Rush even is, so I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about that before I talk about what is new with this new version of the game. Now this is an adaptation of a tower defense game. What that means is you have a board where hordes of enemies are going to be slowly marching towards an exit, and every time they leave the board, they're going to do damage to your kingdom and eventually cause you to lose the game. It is up to you as a hero to play towers and soldiers from a hand of cards in order to beat back these hordes and save the kingdom. So you're going to see the game board already set up here in front of me for a two-player game. Of course, I am showcasing off Elemental Uprising here, so you're going to see a lot of things that maybe you don't recognize from just the base game, including the two new heroes that I am playing that come with this new version. However, a few things are going to look the same. You're always going to have a number of tiles set out in an arrangement that's based on your chosen scenario. And there are a variety of new scenarios that come with this game. You're going to set up the board, including the places on the board where each player can build their towers. You're each going to have a unique player color. You're going to add certain groups of hordes, and you'll see here that they kind of come out in a stack that is predetermined by the scenario. You're going to stack them up and place them so that you can remove the top of each stack every turn. And you'll notice that there are 3 potential places that these enemies can come in. You'll also start with a few hordes seated on the board, and they go in these nice little trays because you're going to actually place tokens on these cards in order to defeat these enemies. And you'll also notice that each one of these has some kind of special arrangement of figures. Now, you've got a path that's naturally made from the tiles, and you have an exit. If the enemies ever leave that exit, it causes you to lose health. And if you lose all of your health, it's game over. So your goal is to defeat these hordes before they leave the map. And you're going to do so by playing tower cards from your hand. Each player is going to start with a number of these tower cards based on player count, and they're going to have a variety of level 1 towers. Each one of these towers can do a few different things. They have a different range, they have a different damage type, and they have a different damage shape. And that is the key part to the puzzle of this game. Whenever you do damage to one of these trays, you're going to take the matching Tetris style piece and place it on that board in some kind of formation, with your goal being to eventually cover every single enemy that is on that tile. If you manage to cover every single enemy on that tile, then you've defeated that tile. You'll score some crystals, which can be spent to upgrade your cards, and you'll get to remove that tile from the game, which is great because it kind of helps you out by giving you maybe a little bit of breathing space. But every horde that you do not defeat is always going to be moving one step closer to you every turn. So you're going to be managing a whole lot of danger as these hordes continuously come in. In addition to that, every round you're going to have new hordes enter by revealing the top card of each deck. And sometimes you're going to have hordes, and sometimes you're going to have special events that come into play like this, which is telling me to put out a mini boss, which is another minion type that you're going to be fighting. Now this can seem overwhelming, but you're given a variety of tools in order to beat back these hordes. The number one thing, like I mentioned, is towers. Every turn you can play a tower on one of your spaces, and you can do the effect, including dealing damage or putting out soldiers onto tiles in order to potentially deal even more damage to those hordes. You're also going to have a hero miniature that can come out onto the board and use their own special powers. Every hero is completely unique, and I'm going to talk about the 2 new heroes that I have here, but this hero can actually come out onto the board, run around, and trigger their special ability and interact with a few things that are out on the board themselves. So between your hero and the cards, you've got a good chance of potentially holding off these hordes. Now, the cards themselves can actually be upgraded over time, and this is something that you'll recognize from any tower defense game. You can level up your towers over the game. Now, there are 2 ways to do this. The first way is spending those gems. After every round, you're going to have the option to spend all these crystals that you earned over the course of the round. To do that, you can just purchase a level 1 or a level 2 tower of your choice, and you can just put it into your hand and use that for the next round. There is another way to upgrade your towers though, and that is by taking a card from your hand that you wish to upgrade. For example, I can choose to upgrade my barracks. It is a level 1 barracks. I can discard it, take a level 2 barracks from the pile, and place it in my teammate's incoming towers pile. So I've sacrificed the tower for this round in order to give my teammate a better tower that they can use next round. And this method of upgrading towers is the only way to reach level 3 towers, because you can only purchase 1 and 2. Of course, those level 3 towers are going to have some of the best abilities, and you'll want to get up to those towers if you can. Of course, your teammates can do the same thing. They can level up their towers as well and place them in your incoming towers pile. You're going to have the chance to draw those up next turn and then play those towers out in front of you. And that's kind of how the basic game works. You're going to be doing this in waves where you're constantly going to be flipping over these tiles, dealing with these hordes, and trying to fend them off before they can leave the kingdom. And you'll need to manage these, because if you don't, you'll end up in a position where every new horde that's added has to skip spaces until potentially they're being added right next to the exit, which can be very difficult here. And you're seeing here one of the new tiles from Elemental Uprising. Now that's kind of the game in a nutshell, but let me talk about what you're probably here for, and that is to find out what is new with Elemental Uprising. And there is a lot of new content in this game. Of course, I mentioned the new heroes, and I mentioned the new scenarios. But some of you that are really familiar with Kingdom Rush are going to be looking out at my board and wondering why I didn't talk about portals. Portals were a key point in Rift in Time, and you had to defeat those portals in order to win the scenario. Well, there are no portals in Elemental Uprising. In fact, the only way to beat the scenario is to complete a scenario-specific victory condition that's going to be unique for every scenario. You're going to have different victory conditions, sometimes different defeat conditions, and sometimes other components like this deck of mini-boss cards that are going to be added into that particular scenario. Now, this is a brand new approach to Kingdom Rush. You're going to have to work together to figure out how to focus on that scenario. It isn't as simple as just trying to defeat the portals, although that was never very simple to begin with. I understand that. There's also a few new things added with the towers themselves. There are a variety of new mechanics that are brought in with these new towers, and I'm going to talk about those too. One of the ones that I'm really excited about gives you the ability to attack a tile anywhere on the board, regardless of where it is in relation to your personal tower. Now, it's going to do less damage, but it gives you the flexibility to target anywhere you want. We've also got blast damage now, which is going to do damage to a big area of effect, which is really cool because it's going to allow you to hopefully dish out damage a little faster and deal with more of these hordes. In addition to that, soldiers can now do splash damage. Whenever you place a soldier down onto one of these horde tiles, they can do another splash damage by putting a token out on one of the adjacent hordes. Now, only certain towers are going to allow you to have this splash damage ability, but that's really cool as well. It gives your soldiers a little more potential. Not only that, there are some new damage tokens as well. You're going to have some new Tetris shapes that you can place out in order to cover more spaces. So all of that works together in different ways to deal more damage. But there's one more thing that I think is very cool, and that is time lapse. The level 3 mage towers can put out these little time-lapse tokens on tiles to negate their special abilities. And you're going to want to do that because this game also brings in some new enemy abilities. You're seeing right here the shaman barriers that are going to impact gameplay, and you're also seeing some of these enemies that have purple borders around them, and these are considered tough enemies. These enemies are much more difficult to defeat than your normal enemy, so you're going to need all of the new tricks with these new towers. However, there's still one more thing with these towers I want to talk about, and that is the ability to modify your towers over the course of the game. You're going to have a sheet of stickers that you can use to actually make physical upgrades to your towers. You can increase their range, you can change their damage type, the number of damage tiles they put out. You can even add soldiers to a tower so the soldiers come out as well. And you're going to be able to purchase these upgrades by spending gold. And this is a new currency that has been added into this game. Certain hordes that you fight are going to be able to give you gold in exchange for killing them. In addition, I mentioned this earlier, but we have these new event tiles as well. Since there are no portals anymore, there's nothing that's really going to mess with your towers like they did in the Kingdom Rush base game. But these events are going to come out and they're going to do some crazy things. And so they're going to take the place of those portals and they're going to interfere with your hand and with your towers in a bunch of different ways. So you always have to be prepared when you see an event about to come out. You don't know what it's going to be, so you need to make sure you're ready for it. Now, the last major thing that I've been kind of teasing are the new heroes. Of course, like I said, you can bring any of your heroes from Rift in Time into Elemental Uprising and vice versa. So you can bring these heroes with their unique mechanics back to the other game. Every hero in Kingdom Rush is very different. They have a very unique set of abilities and special powers that can be upgraded over time. One of those new characters is Bruxa. They kind of have like a witch doctor vibe with their magic. They have skull tokens that they can place out, and they can actually do a new kind of damage type based on those skulls. In addition, as they defeat hordes, they're going to be able to collect skull tokens and place them on their board. As they gather these skull tokens, they can actually exchange them to strengthen their abilities, to deal more damage and things like that. So they are actually a heavy damage dealing class, and they're going to give you a lot of different options to manipulate those skulls in some fun ways, especially when you start adding in their special powers. Now, the other character that's added in is Alric, and this is more of a warrior type hero. He's very good at melee damage, and he has his own melee damage type for him as well, and he's going to want to be up close and personal. In addition, he actually has two new figures called Sand Warriors. And of course, these are going to be miniatures for the final game, but I have these meeples here just like I do with the soldiers. He's going to be able to place these out, and they actually act as little miniature heroes. They can move across the board, and they can do a lot of the things that heroes can do, including interacting with the new tiles on the board. And you're going to see two types of these tiles out there. One of those tiles is the Magic Blossoms. If you move onto a space with a Magic Blossom, you can flip it to deal its damage to enemies anywhere out on the board. And of course, your Sand Warriors could come and activate those as well. The other thing you're going to see is the lava pool right over here, which is going to generate crystals for you. If you manage to reach that lava pool, you can actually take one of those crystals and add it to your supply. The only other way to get crystals is to deal damage to hordes and defeat them. So it's good to find new ways to get these crystals so you can start upgrading your towers a little bit faster. So these two new heroes will be available to play right out of the box. I have no idea if there will be more heroes introduced over the course of the Elemental Uprising campaign. You'll just have to take a look at their GameFound page to find out. Now, all of this content, like I said, is playable with the basic game, but you are going to have a variety of new scenarios and a variety of new difficulty options. So they've kind of retooled the way that difficulty works, and of course they have retooled those in-game objectives. So if you're a fan of Kingdom Rush and you're looking for something a little different, maybe something that causes you to play the game differently, you definitely want to check out Elemental Uprising. And if this is your entry to Kingdom Rush for the first time, this is a very unique genre of game. And if I'm going to say anything about the Kingdom Rush board game, I will say that it is a very, very close approximation of what it feels like to actually play that tower defense game. You're going to be constantly facing down horde after horde after horde, and sometimes it's going to feel completely unwinnable until you just manage to squeak out that victory condition right before you would have lost, and that is a really, really good feeling. So take a look at the Game Found page for Kingdom Rush Elemental Uprising. It's going to be running there, so you'll be able to see everything that they have in store for the campaign, including any stretch goals or secrets or anything like that that they might have. Thank you for taking a look at this game with me, and as always, please like, subscribe, follow us here at MVM, and let me know what you're most excited about in the comments. As always, I'll see you next time.
Hey everyone, if you guys enjoyed this video, please consider dinging the old bell below. That is going to help notify you of new videos that are uploaded to our channel. And as always, give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and please consider watching all of our videos, one of which you can see right here to my left.